It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show.
Yes, indeed, this is the Stage and Screen Show with me, Andy Snowden, on 105 Calon FM. And coming up in our third and final hour, John Wheeler from possibly the world's most famous bluegrass group, Hayseed Dixie. He's next. Hayseed Dixie is an American band formed in Nashville, Tennessee in the year 2000, and their first album was a hillbilly tribute to AC/DC. The band performs bluegrass cover versions of hard rock songs and also original songs of a mostly satirical or absurdist nature in a self-created musical genre which the band calls rockgrass. The band plays hard rock and bluegrass music on electrified acoustic bluegrass instruments, and to date they have released 16 studio albums and played over 1,400 live dates in 31 different countries since their inception in 2000. And their band's founder member, Mr. John Wheeler, aka Barley Scotch, joins me on the line now. And John, I've got to tell you, before we go any further, it's an absolute treat to have you on the show. Thanks ever so much for that. And I'm thrilled to say that you're coming back to Manchester on tour, and it's great to see you back on tour after the horrendous 18 months we've had.
Yeah, I mean it's been odd. I mean, 18 months is the longest I've gone without playing a live show since I was probably in primary school. You know, so it's good to finally be able to have a little bit of a semblance of what our life was back. The last tour we were doing about a year and a half ago got canceled when the pandemic first began to happen. So at that time, nobody had any idea. Was it going to kill half the population? Was it going to be the next bubonic plague? We didn't know, you know. So it didn't turn out to be that, but it did turn out to be something which has destroyed a lot of lives, and I take that pretty seriously. But when people talk about, 2020 is going to be remembered as the year of the coronavirus or whatever, I think it's probably not going to be remembered much at all, because not very much happened, really. Yeah. I think, assuming I lived in the 15 or 20 years, I'm probably going to look back and think 2020 was just this kind of weird black hole. I don't have a lot of memories of it at all, because nothing really happened to be memorable, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel exactly the same as you. I bumped into a friend yesterday, and I said, how old's your son now? And he said 2. And I said, 2? And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, the last 18 months it's just gone by in a blur. It's been weird.
Yeah.
Been nothing like
it's
it.
Strange that how when not a lot of events take place that are memorable. It's kind of like when we play shows. I remember the really great ones, and I remember when something really horrible happened, and the rest of them just kind of blur together, because if nothing really remarkable took place, in the fullness of time, they just kind of become part of the wash. I think that's how that year is going to be.
Yeah. And obviously, as you say, in 2020, the cogs come off the whole world, really, and especially for rock bands, anybody in the entertainment industry. And you were on a 20th anniversary tour. Did you? I mean, you must have feared it would never happen.
Well, I mean, we have pretty low overhead because we're an all-acoustic band, and we ride around in a van, not a bus, that kind of stuff. We got a sound man, and that's it. We all change our own strings every night. So we keep our overhead about as low as you could possibly keep it.
Yeah.
But we still had to get past the first, I think it was the first 8 or 9 shows to get to the point where we broke even on things like plane tickets and van rentals and that kind of stuff. And we just got past that. The Manchester show last year was the last show that we played. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of our break-even show. So nobody made any money on the tour. They got rescheduled, but we didn't have to reach in our pocket and pay anything either. Whereas I know some bands did have to. Some bands actually lost money on it. So we were fortunate in that regard.
But you hail from Nashville in Tennessee. Do you still live there? Do you still go back there?
No. I'm actually a UK citizen. I married a woman from Norfolk in 2009 and moved over here, and I've lived in the UK pretty much full time since about 2006.
Right.
So, despite the fact I haven't lost my accent or anything, but yeah, I'm originally from Nashville. But a country with a healthcare system. I thought it was kind of an interesting idea.
Absolutely. Because I think America seemed to be a little bit more laid back about the coronavirus, or so it seemed from this side of the pond.
Well, honestly, I don't have much experience with it because I wasn't living there while it was going on. I probably see the same internet news that you see about it. I'm an only child, and both of my parents passed away, so I don't have a lot of. I got some friends in the States still that I talk to, but they all live in downtown Nashville, which is kind of the equivalent of living, I guess, in downtown Manchester. It's a pretty big city, Nashville. So most of the people that I still know there are all people who are vaccinated, and they're all, pretty much into the science. But I know that there are a lot of people in the United States still who are not, and who, deny reality and think the world's 5,000 years old roughly, and, global warming is not happening because only God can control the climate, that kind of stuff. I mean, I grew up with these people, but I don't hang out with them anymore, so I don't know what proportion they are.
Well, anyway, it's great that you're back on the road. It's awesome, actually. And are you a good tourist? I wonder. Do you like to do the touristy stuff when you're away?
We used to more than we do now, just because we've already seen a lot of the major things now, and also because of the corona stuff now too. We're not sequestering ourselves off in a bubble and, ordering in food to the hotels or anything, but we're also not going out and taking any chances about, not because we're so worried about getting sick, but I talked to a doctor friend of mine. Like I said, we're all vaccinated. We've all had corona at least once. Our bass player had twice, 11 months apart.
Wow.
So it means his natural immunity lasted less than 11 months. But it didn't make any of us especially sick, which I guess means that we weren't predisposed to whatever it causes some people to get really sick with it. So we're not so much worried for ourselves, but we're more worried that if we picked something up, because we're traveling from city to city every day and going all over the country, that we could potentially become the people who super spread something without even realizing it.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that, until the science catches up and they know enough about this thing to know how to control it. We don't want to be responsible for contributing to it, So in the past, we've always gone out after every show and taken pictures with people and sign stuff and talk to them. And we like doing that. Otherwise, it's just kind of lonely. You just see backstages and hotels. But on this tour, we're not doing that because of the reason I just said. We don't want to become the people who spread something all over the country.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next tour we do, it'll all be contained. It'll all be, like smallpox is now eradicated, I hope. And then we can get back to the way it used to be, because none of us are shy guys. We actually really love getting out more and talking to people than seeing sort of the historical monuments. But all that said, I do think that the Museum of Science and Industry in Manchester, I remember coming and seeing that several years ago, and I thought that was a real eye-opener in a lot of ways. A fascinating museum.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful country. I've lived here nearly 52 years. I'm 52 in a couple of weeks, and
I'm 51, so we're the same age. Yeah,
yes,
great.
exactly. And there's parts of the UK I still haven't seen yet, and I've toured with shows, and I just I like to get out and do what I would have considered quite boring when I was a kid, but now I absolutely adore it. It's a funny old thing.
Well, yeah, there are stages on life's way, I suppose. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was like, take me to the amusement park, take me where the rides are. Now I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to get sick, man. Let's go look at an art gallery or something. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, but you're described, I read, and I love this, you're described as being split down the middle, 60-40, between hillbilly philosopher and trailer trash champagne socializer. And I wonder which side of your character do you prefer?
Oh, it depends on what mood I'm in and what the situation is, I suppose. I don't know that they're discrete splits either. I think they're kind of a blend. Some of that's, was that on a bio someplace you read?
I think it was, yeah. But I loved that.
Yeah, it sounds like something that would have been written on a website or something. Yeah. Some of that's just trying to make fun of the idea that people can be conceived monolithically, that anybody is just this or just that. People are complicated. People are always a compilation of all the stuff, the sum total of their experiences, I suppose, is what everybody is. So, yeah, we're all... We're all complicated folk.
Yeah. You're I would say multi-instrumentalist, but on such a high level as well. I mean, you're obviously a guitarist and a fiddle player, but I just sat last night and watched you playing the piano, and I mean, presumably you pick up an instrument as a child. Which one came first?
Piano came first when I was a kid, and it's probably still the instrument I love the most. But then when I got into university, I mean, I'm talking about the late '80s now. I don't come from any money. My dad was a kitchen cabinet maker. I mean, he did all right. We could eat chicken when we wanted, but we weren't rich, you know. Yeah. So when I got to college, I didn't have enough money for a digital keyboard you could take around to clubs and parties and things, but guitars were portable. So I sort of got into guitar late high school. You know, I'd had one for a while, but I didn't get very serious about it until I got of the age that I could actually go out and play parties and stuff for people. And then it became more of a guitar thing just because of practicality. It was more portable. It was more affordable. I just sort of stuck with it. But piano is still kind of my first love. I just don't get an opportunity to play it very often anymore. Yeah, but they're very different approaches. The piano is very linear. You know, everything's laid out in a straight line, whereas the guitar is kind of, you think of it in terms of shapes and circles. It's a different way of kind of conceiving. But I mean, they're both equally interesting. I don't know which one I'm better at. Somebody else has to decide that.
But the violin, the fiddle played like...
No, that's hard. Fiddle is hard.
Yeah, I mean...
I've worked at that to become very mediocre. There's a lot of way better fiddle players out there than me. Because it doesn't have any frets or anything. It's very much an expression instrument. I've broken my fingers and tied them in knots trying to get good at that instrument. I mean, I'm like, I can play what I need to play for the show, but I'm not a great fiddle player. I'm really not. There's a lot of people out there who are a lot better at it than me.
All my kids have played musical instruments. They all played the piano first, and the one thing I remember when they were younger, and my wife's a piano teacher as well, so she's constantly trying to slow the kids down to get them to play. And there was almost like a theory in their head that the faster they played, the better they sounded, which it isn't particularly true until you can play it well. But with your band, Hayseed Dixie, the faster the better, right?
Well, on some songs, I mean, we don't play just fast songs. I suppose in the live show, probably half or a little bit more than half of the songs are all pretty quick. But that's a live show. Bluegrass on the whole is quite fast music. It's barn dance music, really. Yeah. In essence. But there are slow songs, too. And I completely agree with you. When I was younger, I used to think, the faster I could play it, the more impressive it'll be. But as I've gotten older, I thought, you got to try to play it with some feel. You got to try to put some swing into stuff. What you're really trying to do is communicate an emotion. And every song doesn't need to be a shotgun blast in the face, But I completely understand that. Yeah, I mean, that was something that I've finally, I think, overcome the idea that to be impressive, to play a flashy guitar solo or something that people are going to enjoy, it's got to be the maximum number of possible notes in the measure or whatever.
Yeah. And when Hayseed Dixie, we better talk about them, began in 2000, predominantly all AC/DC tracks. It was almost a homage to AC/DC. Was you always...
Well, the first album was just that, yeah.
Yeah. Were you always a big fan of AC/DC beforehand, or how did that work?
Well, I mean, as much as any other rock band, honestly, the origins of the thing... We never intended to create a band that we were going to be doing 21 years later. We never even thought that was a possibility. We just thought it would be kind of an interesting idea to kind of reimagine a bunch of AC/DC songs as, what would it have sounded like if they'd have been born in East Tennessee. And so the first album was just a bunch of AC/DC songs reimagined as hillbilly tunes, more as kind of an experiment than anything else. And, I mean, we never thought the record would even be commercially released. We just thought it was something that people could play at their parties and have kind of fun at a barbecue or something. Mm-hmm. And then it was released in America. It sold almost 200,000 copies in the first year, and we thought maybe we ought to go play some live shows. And then we just really, truly kind of been following our nose ever since then. It was kind of a happy accident. So I'd love to tell you it was all the result of some grand plan that we put in place. Look how it all worked out. Yeah. But that's not true. It's all yeah, like many things in life, just the result of one decision leading to another, and you follow your nose, and then you go, how did I get here?
But you're hailed as the undisputed creators of rock grass genre, and I mean, you're going to tell me that's another thing just made up for you for the website, but it is quite true, and it must be quite a nice feeling that you'll go to heaven happy that you've actually designed a genre of music. It must be incredible.
It's kind of like, again, a happy accident. Yeah, we do have a lot of other people who have sort of copied us at this point, which I think is cool. I mean, I don't think there's anything in the artistic or musical world that's 100% original. And if something was 100% original, it would be so bizarre that people wouldn't know how to deal with it. But yeah, it feels quite interesting to, hopefully be just, I mean, we're a cult band, we don't play stadiums and arenas. I play large clubs, and I'm good with that. So, we're in a subgenre the same way people who do blues or bluegrass or jazz or anything like that are. But yeah, it feels, hopefully a lot of people have enjoyed what we do. It's brought some happiness to their lives, and it feels good to me to just be kind of a little footnote or annotation in the long chain of people who have innovated things musically. I mean, yeah, I think we've probably made a little bit of a contribution, but nothing like as big as somebody like Beethoven did or something like that. I mean, we're not in the same class with that. So I mean, I'm not all proud or anything. But more than anything else, I mean, I hope that we just give people their money's worth for a night out when they come see our show. That's what really matters.
Well, I think you certainly do that. And do pretty much all rock songs, do they lend themselves to the rock grass Hayseed Dixie genre, or do you have to suck it and see how you get on?
I think that any song that's a well-written song should be able to be played in pretty much any style. So it just kind of comes down to whether it's a good song or not. If there's a memorable melody, or there's a good chord riff or something, hopefully all these things, then you should be able to play it on a ukulele. You should be able to play it as a jazz piano song. You should be able to play any good song in a wide variety of ways, and it should still stand on its own as a good song. The only time we had trouble with something is when there's not really much of a song there. There are some people who have more of a sound than a song, if that makes sense. And those are hard songs to translate. And so we usually don't. We've tried a few. I mean, I won't name any names because somebody else might love them, but there have been some songs we tried to do, and we get about halfway through the rehearsing process and just say, man, this really doesn't work, does it? There's not really much of a song here, actually, is what we normally end up saying. We can't figure out how to translate this. But yeah, if the song itself is more production than it is song, then once you strip the production away, you don't have much left.
And the name of the band, Hayseed Dixie, I mean, it's almost too good. It almost, it was. I mean, you must have been so proud when you came up with that name. I mean, it was.
Well, we actually started with Hayseed Dixie. That was the original name, and then when we got ready to put the first album out, it wasn't AC/DC. They were actually very supportive of it. I mean, we got to meet a couple of them, and they were really nice guys, and said that they liked what we did. But their record label, who owned the trademark to the name AC/DC, threatened to sue us for trademark infringement. And we thought, I don't want to get a lawsuit over this. So we changed it to Hayseed Dixie just to, avoid any friction with Sony Records, which turned out to be a blessing, really, because it sort of freed us up to do more material besides just AC/DC. That again, was kind of a happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah. And are everybody pleased when you cover their songs? Is it, or are some people a bit precious?
Well, if anybody's been annoyed by it, they haven't told me about it. I mean, we don't call everybody up personally and say, hey, we're thinking about doing a version of your song. You good with it? Legally, we don't have to. If somebody's already released the song, then the record label that releases the album has to pay them a bit of the royalty to whoever the songwriter was. Right. But I've never heard of anybody. Nobody's contacted me and said, how dare you butcher my song this way. There may be some people who have felt that way about it. I don't know. But nobody's actually said that to me. So,
well, I mean, I think there is more of an element, especially from fans, where you kind of think, oh, great, they're doing this one, and there's an element of surprise almost with every new album that you release.
Hopefully, I mean, and we do some original songs too. I mean, the band is certainly best known for doing bluegrassy, rockgrassy interpretations of already known songs. But we do also write some too. We try to keep them fun. Most of the originals are satirical or somewhat, kind of at least attempting to be humorous in nature, with a few serious ones. But when I say serious, I don't mean shoegazy. I don't think anybody wants to be preached at. I don't think that we're the type of band that needs to be telling anybody who to vote for or anything like that. And we do comment on some, I guess, what you could consider to be political issues, because anything to do with people is to some extent or another political. But we're not trying to soapbox or change anybody's mind about anything. You know, I think the purpose of art in general really is to sort of hold up a mirror to the world of experience, and people can take away from that and reflect on it however they do. You know, I think anyway. I mean, hopefully some of our songs have made people consider things in different ways. I mean, our experience of touring around has certainly changed us as people and made us think about things in different ways. You know. But at the end of the day, I mean, what somebody takes from our music has more to do with them than it does to do with us in reality.
And Ed Sheeran famously supported you years ago. Is that it would be a touch to either cover something with him or to actually collaborate with him?
Yeah, I wish he had time. He opened for us at a little place in London called the Half Moon in Putney. We used to play quite a bit as like a warm-up for festivals in the summer. Holds maybe, I don't know, 300 or 400 people. And he was unknown at the time. He was just a guy who was only busking on the streets and whatnot. And I watched part of his set and thought he was perfectly good. I mean, it didn't really stick out to me particularly. I just thought, yeah, okay, he's a guy with a loop pedal. He's pretty good at it. Yeah. And then a few years later, he was, selling out Wembley Stadium, not Wembley Stadium, but Wembley Stadium. I thought, well, okay, cool, good. I always figured that sooner or later. Then months later, when we played the Jules Hall in Hootenanny, which I think was about 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, can't remember exactly. Ed Sheeran was already very firmly a massive star by then. Yeah, we were doing the rehearsals for the TV show where they make you play the song about 15, 20 times with sort of set their camera angles and stuff. And we just gotten done doing our spot, and I was putting my guitar away. I looked around behind me. There's Ed Sheeran standing there, and he says, "Hey, man, I don't know if you remember me, but I opened for you guys a few years ago." And I said, "Yeah, I remember you, man. Congratulations on all your success." And, and we talked for a couple of minutes, and then off he went, Yeah. But he didn't have to do that. He didn't need to walk over and say hi to me. He remembered us and walked over and said hello, which was cool, Yeah. I thought the guy, I don't know him really, but I thought he seemed like, a genuinely sincere guy, which I'm always happy when somebody like that's successful. I think he definitely earned it, Anybody that can stand on stage in front of a 60 or 70,000 people in a stadium with just an acoustic guitar by themselves and hold an audience for 2 hours, anybody who can do that's got something,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think quite a bit of his, famously, lately, Castle on the Hill and Galway Girl, Nancy Mulligan, to name but three. But they are songs that would be brilliant in your style, in your band. They'd be fantastic tracks.
Well, maybe we should think about doing them. I need to listen to some more of his music. Maybe he's a little bit young for my target demographic, but my daughters certainly love him. Yep. And they're always very impressed about the fact that he did play with us once. The things that impress my kids. But maybe we should look into doing a few of his tunes. Might not be a bad idea. Why not?
Absolutely. And I love to ask, because I have my own opinions on rock music, Hayseed Dixie especially. But what would you say is the appeal of your band?
I really don't feel qualified to answer that. You have to ask some people that like us. I have no idea. I can't speculate as what somebody else likes about it. I can tell you what I like about it, but that's not very interesting. I don't know. Have you talked to anybody who's ever told you anything remarkable about what they like about it? I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think if people were to be honest, I think it's the humor, it's the surprises, it's the incredible musicianship, which I think a lot of people might be surprised by. That it's such a high level. It's a phenomenal gig. It's a phenomenal night out. There's no doubt in that.
I hope you're right. That all sounds very good.
But I would say to you that people say they remembered where they were when JFK died and when Diana died, and I'm sure people will remember the first time they listened to Hayseed Dixie.
Well, that's putting it in a very high league, but I hope you're right. That again all sounds very good.
But I mean, I'm gonna let you go now because I can speak to you all day, John. But I mean, you're going to Manchester next week, which is it's almost biblical that you're going back to Manchester after the year that we've had. That's
well,
great.
the year, yeah, but it will have been, I think, a little over a year and a half. It's hard to believe that much time has gone by, but yeah, we're looking forward to coming back and seeing everybody once again. Absolutely. I mean, I always enjoy a night in Manchester. But thanks for taking your time to talk to me. Thanks very much.
Not at all, mate. You take care of yourself, and
all righty then.
Yeah, all the best.
All the best to you too.
Cheers,
bye.
Bye. So John Wheeler and the exceptionally talented Hayseed Dixie are back on the road doing what they do best, and we'll be coming to the Northwest in Manchester's Academy 2 next Friday the 19th of November, and well, you've got to see them once before you die, that's fact. You're listening to the Stage and Screen Show with me, Andy Snowden, and we'll be back in a tick.